Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Hey, Craig.
The Cougs are going bowling in the Zona Desert, not going to Vegas, had some fans hurt. But Wazoo in a bowl, I can't complain. So, it's not an original.
No.
But I did a search for songs about bowling, and this is a song by a band called Asleep at the Wheel. And it's called The Bowling Song. So I thought it was fitting. And this is Podcast versus Everyone. I'm Craig Powers. With me is Jeff Newser. This is the We're Going to a Bowl and Other Stuff to Talk About edition of Podcast versus Everyone.
Woo! We already knew we were going to a bowl, but now we know which one.
And there's cheese-flavored crackers involved.
Dude, cheese-flavored crackers. I mean, both of us have children. So we are well aware of the magical powers of cheese-flavored crackers.
Yeah. Well, I am a longtime Cheez-It fan, lifetime Cheez-It fan.
Would you say you're a Cheez-It hipster?
I wouldn't say that because Cheez-Its have been popular for a very long time, long before I existed. My grandma was a big Cheez-It fan. And so when I was growing up, she would eat Cheez-Its. I would eat Cheez-Its with her. So I've always been eating Cheez-Its, you know. Now there's all sorts of flavors. The only flavor I like is probably the hot and spicy. I'm not a fan of the white and cheddar. Although if they did a Cougar Gold, I'd be into that.
Yeah.
One. But yeah,
I did see. I think that was Wazoo Crew 11 on Twitter with the Cougar Gold plastered on the Cheez-It box.
Yep. Yeah. So. So I'm down with the Cheez-Its. I'm hoping to eat plenty. Well, I've already eaten some, in celebration. So
yeah, I'm sure you're. So you're fired up because you're going to Phoenix.
I am going to Phoenix. It's funny. I'm in my last couple weeks of MVP Gold status on Alaska because I used to travel a lot for work. I don't so much anymore. Not this year. Not enough to get the. Get the status. So part of that status is you can cancel your flights without any penalty. Basically, they just put the funds into a wallet for you, and you can use them on your next flight or whatever. So I booked a Vegas flight before, and then I was just like, okay, if push comes to shove, I'll just use that money towards a Phoenix flight. And tapped out my last of my points. I won't be flying high anymore, but figured it's a good, nice last couple days of having status. I'll go enjoy it on my flight to Phoenix and back. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm gonna go up to the Grand Canyon and do all that good stuff.
You're traveling solo.
Yeah, I roll solo. Amanda's not into roll into a bowl game the day after Christmas. So. No,
that's weird.
She thinks she'd rather maybe hang out with her family. I don't know. I'm like,
what?
A family? I'm gonna go drink for 4 days in Arizona. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, her family's obviously not like our families. I mean, like, what are you talking about? I'd rather go drink in the desert for 3 days.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited. So there's a brewery. I'll definitely, when we're podcasting, probably will do one while I'm down there, I think. Maybe right when I get back. So there's a brewery I'm really excited about, Wren House Brewing, down there. They do a lot of barley wines and a lot of cool stuff. And so, what better place to have a barley wine than the desert? But, we haven't done this up top very often lately, not during football season, because we always have this game to either get mad about or be excited about. But Jeff, let's do it up top. What are you drinking?
I am having Did We Just Become Best Friends from Hoof-Hearted Brewing.
You're repeating a brewery again.
I am repeating a brewery. So I could not.
That's from Hoof-Hearted Brewing.
Hoof-Hearted.
Hoof-hearted brewing.
Hoof-hearted brewing. So it is. There's a picture of two gentlemen rocking out, along with what looks like the cub cat that's on it. Could very well be a cub cougar. Not sure. Might actually just be a lion, but either way, it kind of looks like. I mean, it's a young cub, large cat. And so I was like, yeah, I'm getting that because that looks like a cougar. So plus you got to love Step Brothers. So karate in the garage.
Exactly.
It's common knowledge that the power of two is greater than that of a mere mortal. It's for that exact reason that we've selected choice co-conspirators to collaborate for the greater good of all. In this iteration of our newest rotating DIPA, Amarillo and Simcoe were forced to go belly to belly with the lights off. Frankly, the results were a bit of a surprise. When we finally peeked in the garage, we found the two cuddled firmly under one of Dad's half-used oil rags, limbs intertwined and forming but one whole cone. Did we? Simcoe begins to ask. Yup, we sure did. So there you go.
What a beer description.
Yeah. I mean, it's the way it goes on and on about the flavor of the beer. You just can't. Oh wait, no, they don't talk about that at all.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I appreciate that. I don't think that a brewery needs to tell me what the beer tastes like. Like the beer's gonna taste like what I think it what I think it tastes like. Don't tell me there's notes of vanilla and stuff, which I'll get that to my beer. I am drinking Barrel and Bean from Allagash Brewing. Allagash is one of those OG craft brewers in the U.S. They opened in 95. They have always been a Belgian-focused brewery, so they even to the point where they got mass respect from like a lot of Belgian breweries. This particular one is a triple aged in a Belgian triple style ale, aged in bourbon barrels. For only 7 weeks. It's not a long rest. And then blended with cold brew coffee. Not very much, I would say. From a place called Speckled Axe, which I imagine is a place in Portland, Maine, where Allagash Brewing is located. I have actually visited Allagash back when we lived in Vermont. The first Thanksgiving that we lived in Vermont, Amanda was bummed because we couldn't go home or she couldn't see some family and it was her birthday. So we went out to Maine. I took her to the beach because she loves the beach, but of course the Maine beach in November, which was of course very nice and very cheap. But we visited Allagash Brewing. Back then there was only a few breweries in Portland, Maine. Now there's a bunch. Yeah, they had a really cool. They had all sorts of barrels they aged stuff in. I mean, they're most famously known for their white beer. I think that it's like 80% of their production is that. We don't get it in Washington anymore. We used to, but not anymore. To the chagrin of Amanda, because it's like her favorite beer. I gave her a little sip of this on the way into podcasting, and she was bummed that I didn't share any more with her. But I said, sorry, it's the show beer. It's my beer.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's and I'll read the label. I already told you what it is, so I'll skip past that. But the flavor notes include vanilla, caramel, and a dash of cold brewed coffee. I mean, you don't need to tell me that. That's fine. Like, you don't need to tell me. But yeah, I'm getting a dash of cold brewed coffee and some vanilla. Maybe a little caramel as well is my tasting notes here. But anyway, so yeah, it's pretty tasty. Any Belgian style Allagash does pretty well, which is pretty much all they do. They also do a cool ship. The first time I ever heard about spontaneous fermentation was that trip to Allagash Brewing, and they were talking about how they basically let the air inoculate their beer with yeast for special versions of their beer, and then they were going to blend it. And I don't think they had released one yet, but they had plans at that time. But now they make a series they call Cool Ship, which is the beer that they cool down the wort into and let it be inoculated with natural yeast in there. But so they do that. So I'm a big fan of them. They're an OG brewery. When I was in Vermont, drank hella Allagash White all the time. Yeah, if you go to a lot of states in the U.S., they have Allagash White. It's just a extremely better version of Blue Moon, basically, and generally costs about the same. So, yeah. So yeah, beer up top.
Yeah, just like the good old days.
Just like the good old days.
Now that football season's pretty much over.
Oh, but not quite.
Not quite.
Because we have one hell of an interesting matchup.
Yeah, we do. We've got, and I'm sure, let me be the very first one to notice that it's the Air Raid against the Air Force, which ironically runs a ground-based game. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty crazy. The Air Raid, which is like often been described, like Leach and Mummy have described as being influenced by the triple option,
right?
Because it's about distributing to people in space and getting it to the, making it hard for the defense to know who's going to get the ball, and using the space of the field to your advantage,
right?
So and now for the first time since obviously there's only the Air Force academies, and I don't think Georgia Tech doesn't run it anymore, do they?
Not anymore.
Yeah,
nope.
So it's only the Air Force Academy or the service academies, that run it because they have to, because their linemen have to be small.
Yeah.
There's weight requirements for the by the time they graduate. But
yeah, they have to really shrink by the time it's time to go.
Yeah, so they have to lose about 30 pounds by the time they get out of there.
At least.
Yeah. But so yeah, they have to, obviously, so they pick a system that's quick and agile, and Air Force, all of the academies at certain points, particularly Air Force and the Navy have done really well with it. Army and less often recently, but Air Force, I mean, last year they hung 70 on, I can't remember who, in a bowl game. So it's
wasn't it Houston? Or
yeah,
no, wasn't it Army that did that?
Oh, was it Army?
It was Army.
That did
yeah,
that?
Army
okay.
did it to Houston, and
That's
they got
right. Okay.
Major Applewhite fired, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And that's how our friend Dana Holgerson ended up at Houston.
But that's also, that's the danger of, you're playing this system that you never, like, it used to be like when Leach was brand new at Kentucky and at Oklahoma and at Texas Tech, like, people hadn't figured out the air raid yet. So you could just sling it around. Like, some of those numbers you see are like crazy compared to what they scored 80 points in a game once. Like, it's insane.
Right.
But so that's, everyone air raids, besides the service academies. Like, everyone air raids to some extent. So now it's become easier to defend. But now no one knows how to defend the triple option. No one does that. Like,
right.
So it's a lot harder to do. So
if you do it at all, you do it like once a year.
Yeah.
Right. Unless you're Air Force or Army or Navy and you're doing it twice, right? Because you play
each other.
Other academies. So yeah, it's gonna be wild. And I think the thing that's
actually Air Force hasn't been in a bowl game since 2016. So it's their first, or is that right? Unless no one's updated this Wikipedia.
It's possible.
Yeah,
but I think probably you're right.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's it's going to be interesting. It's going to be obviously contrast in styles. Two teams that are not particularly noted for their defense, which is, and I'm sure we'll dig into this more as we get closer to it. But as we've noted, it's generally better for us to play another team whose strengths and weaknesses match ours versus the other way around, because our defense is so bad that we'll even make a bad offense look good. But our, offense isn't, so overwhelmingly good that it'll make a good defense look bad. So, I like the idea of the air raid, taking on, perhaps a defense that's not only not that great, but also not necessarily filled with the kinds of elite athletes that tend to give us, the most trouble, right? When we talk the teams that we've had trouble with, it's been, It's been Washington, it's been Utah this year, it's been Cal the last couple of years, and those are teams that feature big physical defensive lines that can get pressure with 3 or 4, and then really long, fast, rangy guys both in the linebacker core and in the secondary. And at first blush, without having looked all that closely at Air Force, they don't look like that, and so I don't think we'll have too much trouble moving the ball. I know people are talking a little bit about, Gordo, I think, needs just a little over 600 yards. I say just, right? But a little over 600 yards to set the NCAA passing record, single season passing record. It's possible. I do think it's going to have trouble because unless our defense is giving up, just explosive after explosive, which is possible. Like that, I
like how you say unless our defense is giving up explosives, not unless our defense can stop them.
Our defense.
There's some psychology there. Yeah,
our defense ain't stopping anything, but
especially this. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that options they thrive on it's all about discipline, right? It's the discipline that they have to make the right read at any moment. Whether it's to hand off to the fullback, which, if you've got a good fullback, they're going to get the ball a whole bunch, or whether it's, whatever, because it's all based off the dive, right? And so what they're looking at is, okay, how's the defense key off the dive? And if they do this, then we'll do that. And if they do that, then we'll do this. And, it's all these wrinkles off of the dive, and it's all based off of how sound you are. And our defense has been notorious this year for not being sound. Like I know they've got 3 weeks to prepare for it, but I mean, I don't know if there's a worse matchup because we are gonna get gashed.
Well, Oklahoma's offense would be a worse matchup.
Okay, fine. But I just mean like stylist. I just mean stylistically.
I don't know. Like I will say a lot of the bowl predictions until the last week had it San Diego State, and I was like, that sounds boring. That sounds so boring because they have a really good defense, terrible offense. It's probably going to be boring, but this is more exciting. Like WC could get run over. That. Yeah, we'd probably lose. But I don't know. It's funny. Air Force is ranked higher in SP Plus. This is actually probably one of the better matchups in bowl season by SP Plus. It's WSU 25, Air Force 27, the 5th best offense, 26th best offense, and then Air Force 56th best defense, WSU 94th. A great special teams matchup, number 4 versus number 5. So
that's good stuff right there.
Field goals are the I know Bill Connolly's talked about it. Like field goals play a huge part in your special teams ranking, and WSU has a kicker who's missed only one, and is a Lou Groza Award nominee, top 3. So he's out having fun with that, not taking his finals, I guess. I don't know how that works.
Some things are more important than finals, Craig.
Yeah. But Air Force is 10-2. That's how often do you play? How often do you finish 7th in your conference and get to play a 10-win team in your bowl game? Well,
I think it's cool, man.
Well, that's funny. Like,
I think it's cool.
But so the number 6. Well, so you get a 7-5 or 2 losing in conference record teams. Washington State both play 2 double-digit win teams in the lower 2 bowls for the Pac-12, which are 2 of the higher bowls for the Mountain West. Probably the 2 highest bowls for the Mountain West. Yeah, which Mountain West
2 highest bowls.
Mountain West gets in this one because the Big 12. Big 12 didn't have enough teams. I think it was Big 12. Yeah, so the Big 12 didn't have enough teams because they have a team in the college football playoff. But so I don't know. It's an interesting, exciting matchup. We'll talk about it more. We have a lot of weeks until then that we're gonna have podcasts, so we'll talk about it more. Let's talk about the playoff. Like, what do you think, man? I mean, everyone made it real easy on the committee this last weekend. Obviously, WSU isn't going to Vegas because Utah laid an egg against Oregon.
Stupid Utah.
I know some people cried some tears over no Vegas Bowl.
Good Lord. I'm just like, come on, man. Like, I mean, I came on this podcast. I was like, Utah is clearly the best team in the Pac-12. They will spank Oregon.
We've been saying that probably since they beat us, like, you know, and especially after we took Oregon to the brink.
Should have beaten Oregon.
And then but had no chance at all against Utah.
Yeah.
In both road games, and so And that's basically Utah was just beating the hell out of everyone they were playing, and Oregon was kind of skating by quite a bit. Yeah. And but you know, Oregon came out and beat their ass. Like it wasn't
that's
close.
what was so weird. Like they just bullied Utah. Like that's the part that I think got me the most was like of all the things I could have expected in that game, I did not expect Utah to get bullied. Like their lines just got which I thought were the best lines in the conference, both sides.
Yeah.
Right? And they just got whipped up and down the field by Oregon's lines. I mean, I don't know what kind of special motivational juice Mario Cristobal put in those guys' pregame milkshakes, but my God, did they destroy Utah's lines. And my whole thought was, man, I'm really excited to see Utah get into the college football playoff because I think they've got the kind of line that could maybe, you know, compete against, against another good team. You know, in this case, it would have been, LSU, right? Now, LSU probably would have wiped up, the field with them, but
right.
At least, maybe they might have given them, a solid shot, for a time. And they just, Oregon just eviscerated them in the most like, the word like neutered comes to mind. They just like literally they like grabbed their balls and crushed them and were like, what are you going to do? And Utah was just, they were so shell shocked, right? Like that was the part watching it that was the craziest. Like they just shit the bed and they just sat there in their shit and went, I shit the bed. Now what do I do? It's like, oh my God. Like it was crazy. It was, I don't know. Like how much of that game did you catch?
I caught it. Like I watched in earnest probably after about the midway second quarter and then to the end.
Yeah, because we were watching the soccer game.
Right. Yeah, and so or whenever that ended, I switched over, and then I saw Utah make their comeback, but it was even doing that. It was kind of tough sledding for them, and you could just see like Oregon wasn't going to let them do it, and it's crazy because you watched Washington and WSU move the ball on that Oregon defense pretty easily, and pretty much everyone else has struggled to do that. And I don't know what it is about Washington and WSU. But everyone else has seemed to struggle to move the ball against Oregon's defense, which makes you wonder like if they would have not blown that lead to Auburn or if they didn't punt that one in the desert, like.
Right.
They would have been number 4. Like they definitely would have been number 4. And
yeah. They had enough preseason hype because that's the prerequisite.
Yeah, because they would have.
You got to have some preseason hype.
Because even with that, they were still right there before they lost to. They were still in good position when they lost to Arizona State. They were still in a very good position. They were at 7, and so like they were right there. They were where Baylor was. If Baylor would have beat Oklahoma, Baylor probably would have been that 4th team. It's kind of crazy, but it basically all the games worked out to make it very, very easy for the selection committee because you didn't have Georgia beat LSU, you had Utah get their second loss, so the two possible, and then obviously one of the teams was going to win the Big 12 championship, so you'd have that one-loss team remaining with the other 3 undefeated teams, and so it kind of made it easy. You didn't have Ohio State. They had Ohio State come back, which obviously that first half apparently lost them the first seed. I don't know how that works, but
yeah,
I don't know. Like I thought it was kind of weird when Ohio State jumped over LSU in the first place, but it's kind of weird. Now LSU's got a much easier semifinal game than than LSU does. But
yeah.
Which, by the way, that game is the day after in the same general vicinity of the Cheez-It Bowl. It's actually the same company, like same whatever organization in parentheses runs it.
Yeah, Fiesta Bowl runs it.
Yeah, Fiesta Bowl. So, me and some friends, we were kind of looking at tickets. They're not very cheap, but that would be a hell of a game to watch, Ohio State and Clemson.
Yeah.
So if we can make it
But
in, I think.
So when you say not very cheap, like how not very cheap?
Yeah,
Couple
so
$100?
Yeah. So the there's a listed tickets at 110, but you can't buy them. I think they're probably selling them to the fans for the alums and stuff first.
Yeah.
But on StubHub Game Time, I did see some that were around 150, but I don't know how long that'll last. And then $200, whatever, to get in the door and sit in the nosebleeds of whatever the hell that stadium's called now.
Yeah.
The Glendale Stadium.
The Glendale Stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be super cool though. Like that would be.
I know. But BA and Katie, his fiance, are going down, so we're definitely looking at tickets. So I think that would be a hell of an experience. Go.
Well,
do
since it's not my money, I will definitely tell you should do it.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like, I've been thinking, like, if you're a Coug fan, you want to go to the Cheez-It Bowl, just enter any contest that says like you can go to the semifinals somehow. Like maybe it's like geared towards Ohio State or Clemson fans, but just be like, no, I'm gonna enter it too. I can go to the Cheez-It Bowl and because the Cheez-It Bowl tickets won't be expensive. You'll be fine. Although there is a contest which you should enter with Pat McAfee, who is apparently the official spokesman for the Cheez-It Bowl, and they are constructing a 2-story Cheez-It box and putting seats at the top of it, and they're giving away 6 trips to the bowl, and so there's 7 seats, and him and 6 people sit up at the top, so you can win a trip to the bowl game. And but
that means you got to sit up there with Pat McAfee.
Yeah, I'm sure he's fine. He seems like a fun guy.
I'll allow everyone else to enjoy that. I want no part of that dude for 3.5 hours.
Oh, it's fine. You could be on the end,
maybe.
It's 7
Maybe
seats.
That's it. I'll be like, I'll just sit over here.
He said in the video he's going to sit on the end, and then everyone else. Because
I could hear him from the other end, because that's all he's going to do is yell for 3 hours. Maybe he'll bungee jump off the Cheez-It box. Ah!
Yeah, but I bet there's some free alcohol and everything and involved in that. I think it would be a hell of a deal and worth it, Jeff. You should win that contest.
You know what? I feel like that Alonzo Mourning gif where he's sitting on the bench, and he makes that face where he's like, nah. And then he's like, well, actually, maybe. Yeah, okay. It's like that's what I'm feeling like, right? If there was enough alcohol involved, I'd probably figure out a way to get through it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for this. Going to the if we are able to go to the national semifinal, that'd be a hell of a cherry on top.
I mean, when are you ever going to get to do that again?
Yeah, obviously going to the WC Bowl game. Last year I desperately wanted us to win because I wanted that 11th win. I wanted to see Gardner go out, and I wanted to see that magical season end on a high note. But this one, it's like, we're playing Air Force, like. I don't feel terrible if they win. I don't feel terrible if I lose to those kids. It's like, I don't, whatever.
You're in Phoenix. I mean, it's Phoenix, a good place to visit.
Yeah, it'll be like 60 to 70 degrees, and it won't be raining, and watch it rain.
It could be worse. You could be in El Paso or something.
So it's not bad. I'm probably gonna rent a car, head up to the Grand Canyon or something for a little bit, and go to a brewery that I already talked about, Wren House, that I really wanted to go to. It's gonna be fun, and it's just me, no kid, nothing, just having a good time.
Fancy free.
But yeah, so obviously, I mean, there's not a lot to talk about with the top 4. That was pretty obvious.
It was pretty obvious.
Yeah, there was no doubt. It's pretty fun to see Alabama not in a New Year's Six bowl. Finally, bummer for Utah. They got the ultimate punishment. We saw Wisconsin and Baylor didn't budge after losing their conference title games, but of course they put up a bigger fight and also, you could say, obviously lost to top-ranked teams. So
right,
a different ball game than losing to number 12. Obviously, Oregon took a huge jump, but it kind of made sense given the teams in front of them. They went up to number 6. Some people thought they were going to go up to number 5, but they went up to number 6. 5 6 doesn't matter. 7 8 doesn't matter.
right.
What really matters is 10 or 11 when you
what
have.
What really matters is that Utah finished 11th.
Yeah, 10 or 11 because, obviously, they say top 12, you would think, but the Orange Bowl has that. The Orange Bowl has the tie-in where basically the second place team that loses the ACC championship, if they are in the top 25, they automatically go. And if not, then Notre Dame goes if they are in the top 25. So that, that tie-in exists. Last year, WSU was kind of screwed over by the Sugar Bowl tie-in because they were ranked higher than Texas, but the second place team in the Big 12 gets to go to the Sugar Bowl if the top team goes to the national to the college football playoff, which obviously what happened with the Orange Bowl as well. So that kind of locks in spots for teams that probably don't really deserve a New Year's Six Bowl.
Weird that the Pac-12 doesn't. I mean, it does sort of with the Rose Bowl, but that's the only one.
Yeah, they don't have multiple.
They don't have multiples like you get into the the Orange Bowl, which is like, yeah, we'll take the Big Ten number 2 or the what's the other one? SEC, not SEC.
Orange Bowl is ACC. What I just mentioned.
ACC,
yeah.
it's
ACC or Big Ten.
Right, but there was
the other
ACC
one. Oh,
for sure.
It's
the
SEC.
other one.
It's SEC or Big Ten
SEC,
number 2.
Big Ten, or Notre Dame. Right, and anyway, it's just the Pac-12 gets screwed once again, and whatever. I mean, I understand. Look,
there's no bowl that is listed as the number 2 Pac-12 team that is in the
Utah should have won the game, and whatever. So I get it.
Yeah, they would have been at the very least in the Sugar Bowl. I mean, in the Cotton Bowl, and they probably would have been in the national playoff, but they did not, and they weren't even close. So not much of a debate to be had. I think Oregon is the team that probably has the most regrets at this point. They're the one that was for sure going to make it if they, didn't lose that Arizona State. But I think they're pretty happy to be in the Rose Bowl. I think everyone's always pretty happy to. That's the one thing about if in the Pac-12, you kind of the Rose Bowl has such a status that it's still kind of like, oh, it's pretty good, like it's still in the Rose Bowl. I
will say that is the thing that the Pac-12 has and the Big Ten has that, nobody else has. The Rose Bowl is still seen as a really special game. There's still a lot of prestige there. Just, kind of blows that's kind of the best we got. So,
or the only we got.
Or the only thing we got.
Well, it also, it kind of, because the Fiesta Bowl used to be kind of Pac-12-ish tie-in, Pac-10.
Yeah, it used to be.
But it doesn't anymore. Now, it's basically what the Cotton Bowl was this year, where it was the group of 5 top team versus an at-large. That's what the Fiesta Bowl was last year.
It was, I think, LSU and UCF, right?
Right, yeah.
If I remember right.
Yeah.
So.
And so this year it's Memphis, who I think, keeping... They kind of seem to keep the group of 5 teams together for for suspense or something, because you notice they're 17 Memphis, 18 Boise State, and then 19 was Appalachian State. So they're they're keeping them all right next to each other. Oh yeah, group of 5 teams. One of you can be jumping over the other, but it's kind of pretty big show of disrespect, to what the committee thinks of the American, to where a 12-1 team wins the American and is 17th. So
right.
Obviously they still get that Cotton Bowl invite, so they're happy about that. But that tells you in the eyes of the committee, the American and the Mountain West, with Boise State at 18 being 12-1, and the the Appalachian is in the Sun Belt, so obviously they're not as or are they in conference? No, they're in Sun Belt.
They're in Sun Belt.
Yeah, and so, which they've dominated since they came up to FBS, but yeah, so it shows that they're very clearly is a delineation in the playoff committee's mind between those conferences and all the other conferences
right.
when you have one-loss teams that are 17 and 18 and 19,
yep.
and then you have a 3-loss team that's number 8, and so
right,
yeah.
And I think that's bared out for the most part in the games as well. I think we all kind of UCF, go give them hell, and then LSU just kind of slapped them around. It was like, I mean, it's I think it's cool to see them get their shot. I don't, it'd be nice if once in a while they showed up and did what Utah did to Alabama, whatever that was 15 years ago now.
Boise State,
Boise
Oklahoma,
State.
and
yeah.
Well, UCF
so we haven't had that in a while.
UCF beat Auburn and won the national championship 2 years ago. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But
I don't know. It depends on the team. Like sometimes the team does show up, and it's just like I think Memphis probably can give.
I think so.
Penn State a good run.
I think so.
They're actually ranked 13th.
Yeah, mostly because I don't think Penn State's all that good. So.
Yeah. So I think Memphis. They're not. Yeah, they got a great offense and they got a good enough defense. Yeah. So they should be. I don't know. I wouldn't expect them to get smacked around, but who knows?
Yeah. All right. Should we take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break.
All right, we're back.
All right, we're going soccer or basketball?
Let's go soccer, man. I'm still excited about that.
Yeah, that was a bummer of a game.
It was awesome and bummer, right?
Right. I mean, the start was amazing.
Oh, it was about as perfect as it could have gotten.
Yeah, just Morgan Weaver scores in the
6th minute, 7th minute?
I think it was a little bit later than that, wasn't it? Was it that early?
I think it was like 7th minute.
13th or so.
I could be wrong.
But
I'm often wrong.
Yeah. No, really?
No, really. Really? Really, I'm wrong sometimes.
But yeah, I mean, they go and play the 22-time national champion, the team that can do five-person subs at once,
right?
And basically lose no
skill,
no quality whatsoever,
yep.
and they they come in. Morgan Weaver does her typical thing, just a very typical Morgan Weaver goal where she just works hard and just makes a hell of a shot.
Yep.
And they took that early lead. You're right. It was 7th minute. It didn't seem that early, but yeah, you're right. So it was the 7th minute. Right. We could be more confident, man. But anyway, so they get that, and then we had a solid 25 minutes of just holy shit, we could go to the national championship.
Yeah,
holy shit, this is crazy. But it was the whole game, because it felt because it was. What you and I talked about this. North Carolina has even WSU outplayed them, but North Carolina has the individuals that have the quality to make plays to punish your mistakes.
Right.
And the first goal, they totally did that. WSU fucked up a clear, and basically UNC makes just a perfect ball to a runner into the middle, and then she just hits a perfect shot to the corner of the net. To score that goal, which it was kind of you just have to be really good. WSU gave them the opportunity, but there's a lot of teams that would not capitalize on that.
WSU gave them the opportunity. You could nitpick and be like, okay, they were a little high with their line. The keeper was a little slow off her line. And, there's these things you could be like, well, you could have done this or that different. But I mean, ultimately, they made a hell of a play, right?
Yep.
So, you just kind of, you tip your cap and go, okay, and then you get back to work, which, the Cougars did. And then, 15 minutes later, you had to tip your cap again.
Yeah, that girl on UNC, I'm sure
she
we'll
wasn't even a starter. She was one of the players off the bench.
Mucharera. She's enormous.
Holy hell. Okay, so it was so funny. So like right before she did that, like I'm watching her and she's just basically running around the field destroying anything that gets in her path. And I'm like, is this girl, like, is she an enforcer? Like what does she do? She's just running around just like really just destroying people, hard tackles, body shots. I mean, she like physical, right?
She had a real just a physical kind of like if you've seen if you ever watch a game when like Josie Altidore is in and like he's just such a larger physical specimen than the other people around him. Like she was just so big and strong and fast.
And so I'm like, I guess she's in there to just like knock some people around. All right. Well, it was like a minute later. She gets up the line and she just fires this laser across the face of the goal. And I'm
perfect ball.
Yeah, perfect ball to the far post. And, so, North Carolina had kind of, this runner to the near post to distract the goalie and it worked. And then, obviously the defender on the far post kind of didn't really attack the ball. And then,
it was hit so hard, to attack the ball, they may have had an own goal.
Yeah. It definitely would have taken like a flick on or something to get it, to move it on out of there. But still, it was, and she was just, unprepared for the runner at the far post. And the thing that was the bummer about it was that, at halftime you could tell that is a thing that North Carolina likes to do, because Schulenberger got on the interview and was we knew they were going to do that and we were prepared for it. And
you could sense his frustration.
Yeah,
he was so frustrated because they had outplayed them.
Yeah, largely
outplayed them, better chances throughout the game. And obviously the second half, I think WSU weathered a bit of a storm in the first 15-20 minutes.
Yep.
But then the final 25, WSU was getting chances, particularly when Morgan Weaver had a nice run. And then there was also a nice shot off a kind of a deflection that really tested their goalie. There was another from Gamora Stevens. She hit one to the corner, to the bottom corner, and Stanford's goalie made a save on, or UNC's goalie made a save on it. That obviously that Morgan Weaver one, she just barely missed it.
Yep.
So yeah, there was a lot of tense moments. It really felt like they were going to get that goal. Like it felt like it, but they didn't ultimately.
Yeah, it was, that those first 20 minutes or so out of halftime, it was, North Carolina was really controlling it.
Yeah, that was terrifying. It was like they're going to get a third goal.
But I felt like if they could just hang on, because honestly, I don't know if you felt the same way, but to me, it felt a little bit purposeful in terms of strategy. Not that they wanted to, concede all that possession in North Carolina and absorb that much pressure. I think if they had their druthers, they would not have maybe played under such, relentless attack for 20 minutes. But I do think that they were, you alluded to
they were confident in their ability to.
Yeah. I mean, the style that we play, high pressing, really attacking soccer, you can do that for 90 minutes against, a lot of teams. You can't do that for 90 minutes against North Carolina, not when they're bringing people off the bench who would start for pretty much any other team in the tournament. Right? I mean, they'd start for you. Exactly. They go so deep on their bench that it just, like they're bringing, future All-Americans off the bench.
We of our best players, Gamora Stevens came out for the last 5 to 10 minutes of this first half and then played the whole second half. I mean, the sub rules are kind of weird in college.
Players can go out and come back, and
a certain amount of times. Well, they can't come back in the first half, but then they can start the second half starter, and then if they come out in the second half, they can come back in once or whatever.
One time,
Yeah. So, so it's a little more confusing. I think, I was talking about this, like if this is the classic 3 subs, like professional soccer,
right?
Like WSU's
got a better chance.
WSU have way better chance, but UNC is so deep. Yep. And you can get that deep when you have that sub rule, because you can tell
you can recruit all those players and be like, hey, you're going to play.
You're going to play 20, 25 minutes even as a freshman, because we can rotate you in, and you're still one of the best soccer players in the country. Yep. You're still going to play. Once they came in, and then you saw this is not a dip in quality at all.
No.
But although when they brought them in, the second half, after a couple minutes, WSU was able to rein back, take back control of the game and get chances. And it was a very exciting final 30 minutes or so to watch, or nerve-wracking, exciting, whatever. But it felt like, you felt like this can happen. This can definitely happen. And just a testament to how good they were, or how well they were playing, because they were playing the number 2 team in the country,
and they went toe to toe.
Yeah,
there was no point where you were like, oh, they were pretty lucky to be in it. They just got a couple of good chances and finished them. The North Carolina coach said, I feel lucky that we're advancing. They had the better chances. They outplayed us.
And in soccer, more than any other sport, I feel outplaying a team doesn't equal a win always,
right?
And even often equals a loss. Right. So, because Stanford's a team that beat WSU 5-0 earlier in the season. UNC went and played them, and they went all the way to penalty kicks 0-0. Yep. So I think WSU was playing at a just completely different level. The commentators were talking about how Morgan Weaver was just just dominant. The first 30 minutes of the game was completely destroying UNC every time she was on the end of a ball, and just stretching the field with her runs. And Gamora Stevens was just fantastic. And a cool thing to see because of this run, I think it's very much because of this run. You could say Weaver was on the under 23 team already, so the U.S. Soccer is having basically they call it identification camp. So it's basically a young players camp to try to identify the next level of stars for the next world. Once all these current World Cup stars we have are too old, and a lot of them are, to have that next round of players. And a couple of other players couldn't play because of injuries suffered in the College Cup. And so Morgan Weaver and Gamora Stevens they got pegged to join that camp, which doesn't involve any games, but it's a cool chance to kind of show what they got
it's super cool
against a lot of young NWSL players.
Yeah. So I think it's about, if I remember right, it's like 14 pros and 10 college players or something like that.
Yep.
So they're going to get a chance to show what they can do against some high quality competition, and perhaps get on the radar. That's the hardest thing when it comes to breaking into a national team, is just kind of getting somebody's attention, right? Showing that you belong. And the best way to do that is a camp like this. So it's super cool. They got called in as injury replacements, which who cares how you got there, right?
Well, and the thing, if they wouldn't have made this run in the tournament, who knows? There's probably a good decent chance this wouldn't have happened. So they were able to show, because a lot, I've heard from some smart people that Gamera Stevens was the best player for WSU. The best player
in the tournament, yeah.
Which often, WSU. when you are a midfielder, often you're setting up goals for the forward, and
right,
and they're getting the glory, but everyone knows that you're the player. But she was she showed out against some of the best teams in the country, and Weaver showed out against some of the best teams in the country. Weaver was already kind of under on their radar, but Gamera Stevens, I don't think I'd ever been at any of these. I don't know. She may have been, but I don't think she'd been at the under 20 camps or under 23 camps or anything like that. So it's pretty cool opportunity for her, pretty cool opportunity for Morgan Weaver, and so good job, WC Soccer.
Makia Minnis, right? She's going to
under 20 team,
the U20, the U20, right?
Yeah.
And she, by the way, she was low key maybe our best player in that game against North Carolina.
And she was dealing with.
She was a wrecker.
And she was dealing with some ballers, man.
She was just like killing people with tackles and just interceptions. Like she was everywhere.
Yeah, the 2 goals that UNC scored were by far their two like very best chances, and they didn't really have another like very, very clear chance
right
other than that. Like, and so they capitalized on their two chances. They had some shots, but they didn't really test. They weren't really like that big of tests. Like there was no diving saves. Like Diedrich was, other than those 2 goals, and
there were none where you really felt like you got let off.
No,
right?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like, oh man, we were lucky North Carolina missed that. They just, like you said, didn't create a ton of chances, like serious big chances.
Yeah, and so you have, Minnis is sophomore, and obviously she's the hero that sent us to the College Cup, and and then she, obviously, and then just her defensive performance against UNC, like. I don't know how you definitely see that. Obviously, Theo Lawson had tweeted out right before the match on Friday how there was U.S. Soccer was there, which you would hope so. But like but obviously these 3 players impressed them, and they get a chance to impress them further, and it's cool. I mean, it'd be really cool if there was like a friendly attached to this or something.
So we could watch them play.
But there's not, because basically what I've read is that they basically given all the World Cup players a time off until
which they very much deserve.
Absolutely.
Because they have not only did they have the World Cup, but then they went on they came back and the domestic league was still playing. And they also played a series of basically, victory
money
tour
grab games.
Yeah, money grab, victory tour friendlies.
They take my players away from the rain.
Yeah. That's sports person of the year, Megan Rapinoe.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I still got B. I think I mentioned before, she has a goat stuffed animal.
Yeah.
It's one of her favorites to travel around with, and it's called Pinot. Might have to change it to Morgan, though. I don't know.
Might have to.
I don't know. But I don't know. So Morgan Weaver is from University Place, which if you don't know where that is, it's basically
right
Tacoma.
Next to Tacoma.
Yeah, it's inside of Tacoma, basically.
Basically Tacoma.
Yeah,
but don't tell them that.
Don't tell them that.
Don't tell them that.
No, they have the Whole Foods, and they have.
You're from Tacoma, right?
They have the Harbor Greens.
I'm from University Place.
Yeah. What university is there? None. There is no university.
Well, by the way, did you know that was the deal? They were trying to lure.
Yeah.
I think it was UPS. They were trying to lure Puget Sound to their city, and so they changed the name and called it University Place, and then they didn't get the university.
UPS is in my hood. So I tweeted at Rain FC, come on, bring her home.
Yeah, got to do that.
Like that would be,
whatever it is, make whatever trade you got to make. But
dude, I would buy a Rain FC Weaver jersey immediately if she played on the Rain FC. Like that would be. I would buy one for B as well.
Absolutely,
like,
I'd buy one.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And by the way, a lot of our a lot of players coming back. They'll lose Morgan Weaver. They'll lose Avery Collins, who were both, sort of key cogs. Not sort of. We're very
definitely.
Key cogs.
But Gamera Stevens comes back.
Gamera Stevens comes back. Elise Bennett comes back.
Minnis comes back, obviously.
Yeah, Minnis comes back. So that'll be and then they had the freshman Frimpong Ellerson. Yes. Freshman. She's awesome.
And who knows?
She's gonna be great.
Maybe get a graduate transfer, a big one like this year. And
well, and who knows what the payoffs are for something like this? It's you've been in the tournament year after year after year, Sweet 16s, then you push through for a College Cup, and it's not like it's just one, magical run. I mean, it is in some sense, but it's it comes in the context of lots of appearances. I know that Wazoo is building a pretty cool, fan culture over around the team in Pullman. So, I think, it becomes a more and more desirable place to play all the time. UW is, they're going through a coaching change now. The longtime coach is retiring. So, I think the chance is there.
You talked about Avery Collins. She was a graduate chancellor from Stanford. So, that level of player was like, hell yeah, I'm going to go.
Yeah, I'll go
play
to
at
Pullman.
this program.
Okay.
Because she knew she was going to go play in the postseason, and
yep.
She damn near played her former team like they were
she
that
did.
close.
It was so close. So close.
Oh, by the way, did you see the clips of the Stanford goalkeeper after she saved the last penalty she saved?
I did not see that.
Pretty awesome. You should go look it up.
All right, I'll have to check that.
Yeah.
I did see the last goal. That was on Twitter. I saw the winning goal.
But you got to see the goalkeeper when she saved it right before the last goal, and her celebration is pretty awesome. So,
all right,
seems like a pretty intense person. But yeah, so. So next year, I mean, I don't see any reason why they're not going to be good. I wouldn't expect college cups every year, but maybe they can. Maybe they've built that culture, built that program to the point where they obviously built it to the point where they have the talent level, if they are able to play at their top level, to beat the best teams in the country, which is what they did. They beat 2 top 5 teams and took another top 5 team to the brink.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Outplayed a top 5. I mean, what a season. I think probably at some point in these next couple of weeks, we'll probably have a podcast talking about the best stories of 2019. And I don't know how that's not going to be number one, but there's probably no way that's not going to be number one. I'm really excited. It's fun. I need some goddamn College Cup gear though, and I don't know where I can get this. I want WSU College Cup gear, Wazoo, NCAA.
Come on, man.
Come on, give me that.
Gotta make this happen.
I know. I've searched for it. I haven't seen it yet. I saw if someone was at the game and bought and took a picture of the shirt. I'm like, can you buy 1,000 of them? Bring them on up. We'll pay top dollar.
Yeah.
So I hope we're able to get some of that. I would love a WSU College Cup shirt to wear proudly with my MLS Cup champs shirt and my
I'm down with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Next year we got to figure out a way to, maybe get over there early enough to watch a soccer game.
Yeah, it comes down to going a lot of times they're the day before a football game, and so if I'm gonna be over there anyway, but I always don't go till Saturday.
You don't go till Saturday.
Making that trip over on Friday.
Maybe they'll have a game on it. Maybe it's a deal where
they do have them on. They have had them on Sunday, but I always
watch
it's always been I've had to get out of town, but they have had them in the afternoon on Sunday. So
we should
maybe
make
I'll
that
just
happen.
Yeah, we should make it happen.
We should make that happen.
Yeah.
So when's basketball going to go to the Final Four? How many years we got to wait for that?
We'll see how many. 2008 was the first year that WSU went to the NCAA tournament in soccer, and then they went every year but 2 until 2019. If this year we go to the NCAA tournament, it'll be 11 years on the dot that we will be in the Final Four.
All right. I only got to wait 11 years. I'll still be alive, I think.
If someone told me that WSU was going to be the Final Four, it's going to happen. In
11 years.
I'd probably be such a careful, I'd just be living very carefully for the next 11 years. I want to make sure I see this.
I don't know. I mean, you got to be riding high after beating New Mexico State.
I mean, yeah, I know we beat New Mexico State in football. New Mexico State is a team barely hanging on to FBS in football, but in basketball, they're basically the best team in their they're the best team in their conference year in year out in the WAC, and they've been a top 100 program pretty consistently over since Reggie Theus and then on, and so this is they did have a couple of good players. But
who cares?
Who cares?
We don't care.
That was a very good, like it was a very encouraging defensive performance.
Yeah.
Because we've had a few recently, particularly down in the Cayman Islands, that were a little worrisome. Like, okay, maybe they can't turn this defense around as fast as we thought, but
Right.
that New Mexico defense was stifling. New Mexico State's a very good offensive rebounding team. They for the first half completely shut that down. Second half a little less, but overall the whole game they definitely held them below their typical output. And so it was just it was encouraging from a lot of fronts. Obviously the offense wasn't great, but I don't think we're going to see that be good this year.
Yeah,
but basically
not hardly at all.
they held their own on the glass against a very good offensive rebound team. They against a pretty solid offensive team. They did well. They capitalized on what that team. So they prevented what the team does really well, which is offensive rebounding, and then they capitalize on what they don't do well, which is giving the ball away. So it was very encouraging to see that this staff can kind of play to the opponent's strengths and weaknesses and put forth a very good defensive performance. I knew you have a stat for what the points per possession was, and you tweeted out, and I think you should repeat it here because it's pretty fucking hilarious.
So I went and looked, like after the game over, as we've talked about on the podcast, it's efficiency is points per possession, right? So rather than looking at raw, points scored or points given up, looking at how many points they actually scored per possession. And so in this game, WSU gave up just a hair under 0.80 points per possession. For context, an average performance this year is just a little bit under 1.0 points per possession,
which is insane.
So basically, we're like that was like a 20% better than average performance. And then when you take into context that New Mexico State's a better than average offense, like you're talking, this is a really good defensive performance, right?
Yeah. So basically, New Mexico State against an average team would be expected to go 1.03 points per possession.
And so we held them, about 0.25 points per possession. You figure 70 possessions, that's 15 points, 18 points below their average, right? Something like that. So so really, really good defensive performance. And so I looked and I was like, holy shit, that's the fourth time we've done that this year. Held a team under 0.80. Now, most of the other teams have been, not great teams, right?
Especially offensive.
Right.
Really
teams that have been bad offensive teams. Yeah. And so I was like, 0.80. I wonder how many times Ernie did that last year. So then I went and looked and I was like, oh, once. Okay. How about the year before that? Oh, once. How about the year before that? Oh, 0 times. I just kept going back, and then I figured out it was 4 times in 5 years combined that the Cougars held teams under 0.80, and it's happened 4 times in 10 games under Kyle Smith. So it's nice. It was fun to watch. It was really fun to watch. They, the turnovers were in full effect. They were all over those turnovers, doing what they've been doing.
Unfortunately, they were in full effect for us as well.
Yeah, that was mostly Jalen Shedd. He did not have his best game taking care of the ball.
After having one of his better games, but
and they got sloppy late too. That was kind of part of it.
Definitely did when closer. That kind of token press that New Mexico State pushed out, really gave them trouble. Yeah, that was kind of disappointing. But they've seen it now. They can coach to it. They can teach to it. Still a lot of guys who have never played with each other much.
And the rotation's getting mixed up a little bit too.
Yeah.
So Isaac Bonton sat out against Idaho, came back in this one, didn't play. I think he only played about 15 minutes. I was
wondering if he's still coming back from the sickness that he had, or if maybe they just kind of were like, maybe you just haven't been playing well.
I would assume the former, but
But he really has been shooting so poorly, and shooting so often, that it's kind of like, sometimes there's a little bit of addition by subtraction.
For sure.
Like the
shot selection was a lot better.
He's definitely one of maybe him and Ellaby that really can get their own shot, but he just does such a poor job with shot selection, and really hasn't finished layups well, and so it really hasn't shot well. I'm hoping he has some sort of mid-season surge, which we've seen before, but
well, and sometimes those things can happen too, like right now when, you sit out a couple games unexpectedly, and then, you kind of reset a little bit. But the offense figures a couple things out.
I do think part of the turnover jump you see is you're seeing the ball in the hands of Shed more and less in Bonton, and Shed is typically his whole career has not been great at taking care of the ball. Even when he was at Texas State, and he's been particularly bad this year. And then you take Bonton out, who's been very good at taking care of the ball. Right. He gets his turnover by way of a 35-foot fadeaway, but
pull up three, but off the dribble.
Yeah, pulling a 30. Yeah, or just like taking a 30-footer in rhythm for some reason with 10 seconds of the shot clock. Okay, sure, dude. He hits them occasionally, and you're like, what? But So. But I don't know. Like I still think that he'll turn it around to a point. I think he slowly has. He's turned it, like he's been shooting a little bit better from his horrid start. Because he definitely has a skill set that you see, and he's athletic, and I think he's pretty good defensively. He's not as good as Shed defensively, but ideally the lineup would be him and Shed, like the two in as your kind of like go-to backcourt, not Gervais as much. Because Gervais seems to be,
he's just such a limited offensive player.
And so he started the season okay, but he's definitely been declining, and he's still shooting a ton of threes, and you're like, why?
He should really never shoot.
Yeah,
ever.
Yeah, and particularly he doesn't get. He seems like the type of player who in the past like lived on getting to the rim, but he doesn't do that very well at this level.
No,
and so he doesn't get to the rim that often. So you see him pulling up a lot, but which is something that Smith talked about. You mentioned to me because you were able to hear it. There were less pull-ups in this game. I feel like Bonton was probably not playing as much as a big part of that.
I think so.
But Ellaby didn't seem to. Ellaby was like exactly what you want out of your like go-to guy in this game, because he wasn't shooting particularly well, and he hasn't been. Like his 3-point percentage, 29%, is like he shot 41% last year as a freshman. Like you would not expect him to shoot this poorly, because he's not taking that different of shots. Like he hasn't been like he does take some tough threes, but he's not taking off the dribble ones. He's taking feet set threes, and so you would expect him to shoot a little better. But he just for the first time this year, I would say, just instead of stopping and pulling up for that 15-footer, just went all the way to the basket, and he was rewarded with many, many free throws, and that in turn got the rest of the team a lot of free throws. So. Which was nice, like, because they were in the bonus with like 10 minutes left, and that was huge to keep the offensive afloat while New Mexico State had run and kind of caught up to them after they had a big lead. Basically WSU went a long time with like one field goal, but they hit a bunch of free throws, and so they were able to, through defense and just getting to the free throw line, kind of stretch the lead out to the point where it was no longer a risk. It was no longer a risk that they were going to lose anymore, which was good to see. Like they found that way. Like in the difficulty of this offense so far, Ellaby was able to kind of assert himself, and then some of the other players, were able to reap the rewards of that. We saw Pollard get a lot of free throws. I think Pollard does a lot better when he is not that. They've been posting him up a lot, and he struggles when he becomes that focal point. And it was funny, like in the first half, WSU got a lot of open threes because New Mexico State was doubling Pollard, and then they quit doubling him in the second half, and those threes weren't open anymore for the first 10 minutes of the half.
Yeah.
But then Pollard became this kind of option where Ellaby or whoever was driving, or Shed or whoever was driving the ball, and he could be that option, the dump off or offensive rebound or whatever, and he was able to get to the line, which is huge down the stretch, just to kind of step, because New Mexico, this was a game of runs, right, man? You said that to me.
Yep.
Like
yeah,
it
was WSU went out on a run, and then New Mexico State went on a run, and then WSU answered back with their run and really kind of put it away. At that point.
You were pointing out the win probability. So WSU went on a 16-2 run in the first half. Then New Mexico State went on a 14-2 run in the second half to pull within 3, and then WSU went on a 12-2 run to kind of put the game away. That was kind of the story of your game. Like the win probability graph is pretty crazy. Like WSU, once it went on that run, never was below 50%, but it was pretty much at 50% when Oklahoma State or New Mexico State pulled within 3, because they are the higher rated team. So they'll get that kind of benefit of the doubt. But yeah, I think overall a great win. Definitely the best win of Kyle Smith's tenure so far. Hopefully they got UC Riverside is the highest rated team they have left in the non-conference, 224, and then you have some horrible teams when the students are gone.
Yeah, they really ought to win.
They should win.
They should win out.
So
until Pac-12 play.
9-4 is given the they so we've seen, like last year, you look at the non-conference schedule, and they played in the non-conference some top 100 teams. So like New Mexico State twice, and then San Diego. But all the other ones were over 200 or close to 200. But you had some kind of teams that are kind of at WSU's level right now. It would have been nice to see them get any of those games, but they didn't. So they lost to Colorado State and Nebraska and Santa Clara and Nebraska Omaha. Hopefully, though, because it's a new coach and a new system and new players, I hope that we can see improvement. I hope these next 4 games can really help them kind of in a less tense atmosphere, because there's a couple winnable games right out of the gate in Pac-12 play, with UCLA at home and Cal on the road. So you're hoping that they're ready to go by the time those come around, and they can get some wins, because it gets pretty tough after that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think USC or UCLA or Cal are any great shakes. I mean, that's those are winnable games. USC's okay.
Are you listening to me?
Yeah, I mean, it's.
Did you listen to what I just said?
I am. I'm just saying, like.
No. Did I just say that right out of the gate in the Pac-12 they have a couple winnable games in UCLA and Cal?
I did say that. I also threw USC
I said
in there,
that.
by the way.
I said that, and then you repeated what I said. You're not listening to me.
Whatever.
What are you looking at while I'm talking, new sir?
I'm looking at USC 59, UCLA 112,
no.
and Cal 190. That's what I'm looking at.
This is what I'm saying. Right before you talked, I said, hope they can prepare going into Pac-12 play, because they have a couple winnable games in UCLA and Cal. And then you said, well, I don't know. They got a couple winnable games in UCLA. So you repeated what I said. You're not listening to me, new sir.
That is true. I don't know. Whatever.
But then it gets tough after that. So let's get those.
Did we already say they should win the last 4 games of the non-conference schedule? Did I already say that?
Yeah.
By the way, we slipped to number 2 in turnover percentage.
I know. Well, they had a rough game against New Mexico State.
I know. But hey, just to circle around to something else really quick. Last year, CJ Ellaby, percentage of his threes that were assisted was 73%.
Yeah.
This year, percentage of his threes that are assisted is 52%. So, evidence there that perhaps the shots he's taking are more difficult and isolated, and not necessarily off of a pass, which are much higher likelihood of going in. This is according to hoopmath.com, by the way.
Something that's curious about, he never seems to catch ready to shoot. Like, he always seems to catch, and then he sizes up the defender, and sometimes he takes a little jab step and shoots a three. Or, like hand down, man down, shoots a three.
Right.
But he never seems to, like, catch and then let it fly, which is interesting. Maybe they're kind of telling him to look for the drive first or
maybe
whatever. But yeah, I don't know. He doesn't. So yeah, off assists less, which is kind of interesting given that I think that our offense is, the assist percentage is
one of the worst in the country.
Worst in the country. So
yeah, the ball just doesn't move in this offense.
Yeah, because we're not really.
Yeah, and a lot of that, I think some of that is, they're really not doing much with offense right now. They're just not. So that's some of it.
This is very reminiscent of like Dick Bennett's
early
seasons. So like when it looked like nothing on offense, and you're just kind of hoping that your most talented players can save your ass and
make enough shots and you survive. So I think there's some of that. I also think some of it is just, they've empowered CJ Ellaby to kind of do whatever he wants. They clearly empowered Isaac Bonton to do whatever he wants. That may not have been the greatest idea in the world. Yeah, that's
not working out so far.
No, and so to have him out for a couple games, and I'm not going to go so far as to say like, oh, they're better off without him. Like I don't think that's it, but I do think that what you saw the last couple games was, when you remove that from the equation, and when the team is maybe to some degree forced to be a little more patient and move the ball a little bit and, work things. I mean, heck, in the first half against New Mexico State, they went with some serious, like old school, post offense with Pollard, right? You said they were doubling Pollard, and it's like they were running the offense through Jeff Pollard, which was sort of like really funny to watch, but it was like, I mean, he was making good decisions and throwing the ball out of the double team, and it was working, I mean, it really was. It was like a throwback to like a late 80s, early 90s offense.
It was so weird to watch. Like
it was super weird to watch. You just don't see that very much
I felt like
anymore.
I was watching like if you go to like if you watch a mid 90s NBA game.
Yeah. Like dump it down and then everybody stands around, waiting for
the double to commit.
Waiting for the defense to show itself, and then okay, well, if they don't double, okay, I'm going to take them in the post, and if they do double, I'm going to throw it out, and we're going to reverse it and try and get a shot. It's just like it was funny, man. It was funny, and it worked, which was even funnier. was that it was totally working.
Yeah, in the first half it worked really well, especially because we were hitting the open looks, and but then they just stopped doubling Pollard in the second half. And,
probably smart. Because he's not that good. I mean, he's okay. He's having an okay season. I don't want to bag on the guy, but certainly I would not double team him if I was another coach.
Yeah, in the post, he's nowhere near an automatic bucket if you don't. Especially New Mexico State had big enough bigs to contend with him. So it was, it's. But he did a great job in the first half. He did a good job in the second half, just drawing fouls and getting to the line. And I think overall that was one of his better games he's had this year. Yeah. So I was very pleased with what he did, and I was pleased with how they were able to use him that way. Can they do that in Pac-12 play? I don't know.
No.
But,
nope.
Speaking of what they can do in Pac-12 play, what do you think of Tony Miller?
I'm great. Awesome. And Pac-12 play is probably not going to look like that, but he's doing some nice stuff now. I mean, he's a 6'6" power forward,
right?
Center
sometimes.
I mean, unless you're, I don't know what's the list of 6'6" power forwards that have been effective.
Charles Barkley.
I don't know. Like I don't know. Wasn't like Jovan Catron at Oregon? Wasn't he about that size?
And he was about 6'6" wide as well.
Yeah, he was like super wide and long arms and
strong and very athletic.
Well, and the thing was when Miller transferred and I kind of looked at his stuff, I thought he was a small forward, to be honest. Like when I kind of looked at his stats and I was trying to figure out, okay, he's a small forward. Okay, great. And then you see him and you're like, no, he's a power forward. Like that's how he's built. That's what he does. He's not a ball handler. Like he's a stretch four, and he's really too short and of limited athleticism to really be of much use during Pac-12 play. But
he's gonna play.
He's gonna play because he has to. I mean,
yeah.
you've got no, you lost your transfer power forward, to a heart condition. So, Deion James goes out with a heart infection, and so he's not playing anymore.
Yeah.
So Tony Miller's, he's probably going to play. Markovetsky's going to play. It is going to be interesting to see how they
like. Jazz Kuntz is the starting power forward, but
right. Who's
but he's only
6'8" and 190 pounds. So
he's only playing 56% of minutes, despite starting to the point where, Kempom doesn't even consider him a starter because he's not in the top 5 of minutes.
Right.
But and he Kuntz is kind of a wild card. I think basically if he can knock down those corner threes, he's going to be a great asset. But if he doesn't, then it's like.
Yeah, he's got to stretch the defense because he's not strong enough to really do anything else.
Yeah,
can't really score around the basket. Can't really put the ball on the floor. He's not a great rebounder either. So it's just kind of like, he's really got to hit some threes to make his presence justifiable.
That's a problem. None of our big guys are great rebounders.
No, which is sort of frustrating.
I mean, Pollard's definitely, I think, out of just commitment to rebounding, has done a little better this year, but still not what you would want out of your center.
He is one of the worst players I've ever seen at timing when to jump off the floor.
Yeah, he's very good fundamentally boxing out, and
he's great at boxing out.
But
he gets his hands on a lot of balls.
He gets a lot of bounce,
but he doesn't get two hands on a lot of balls.
Yeah. So he's just not great. Although there was an offensive rebound he timed really well, and I thought of you because I know you said that to me against New Mexico State, and I'm like, take that, Chet.
Yeah, and I want to make sure listeners understand. I don't dislike the guy. I'm glad he stayed. We needed him. Really bad.
I can't imagine what.
We would. Oh my God, what kind of shape we'd be in the front court. But he's like a lot of guys on this team, he's just limited, and that's. That's sort of the downside of what, Ernie Kent recruited, right? I mean, Ernie Kent recruited a bunch of, very one-dimensional players, and, he was...
Well, Ernie Kent didn't know Pollard could shoot threes, so...
Yeah, how about that, right? But, it's, all these players that can do, one thing. And that was, a lot of the problem, the last couple of years, it's guys.
I would say what Pollard is doing right now offensively is exactly what you want out of what he is roughly like a fourth option. That's what he wants what he's doing offensively is exactly what you want your fourth option.
He's finishing with some efficiency.
Yep.
For sure.
And he pops out, hits a three every once in a while.
Yeah.
He's making his free throws. I wish he would get to the line more as a big guy.
As long as he just doesn't fall in love with the threes.
Yeah.
And doesn't force the post shots.
Which he does on occasion.
He does occasionally, which, whatever. I mean, people
which sometimes in this offense, it's like, whatever, take that. We don't know what else is coming.
Sure.
I do hope to see Markovetsky more.
Yeah. I'm a little disappointed we haven't seen him more already.
Yeah, he really,
But with 4 games coming up against teams that they should win rather comfortably against,
the most
that seems like a good opportunity.
The most he's played in a game is 10 minutes. And he didn't play against New Mexico State at all. Which
didn't surprise me a ton.
That tells you what,
the game was working, and then number 2, New Mexico State was really small. And so I don't know that playing him would have been, much of an advantage. Yeah,
against bigger teams in the conference, it'll be interesting to see if he gets more into the rotation, or if that was just Smith's rotation that he's going to go to against better teams. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, because rolling with it's funny. Kempom has CJ Ellaby playing 42% of the minutes at power forward over the last 5 games. So
right.
That's I don't know if CJ Ellaby at the 4 is going to be a long-term, sort of solution.
Nope.
At the same time, you have to have this caveat that this team probably isn't going to win a lot of games in conference play. The Pac-12 is definitely a step up from what it's been the last couple years. There's not as many teams at our level. If this team would have existed last year, they probably would have won quite a few more games against some of those worst teams in the league. But this year, some of the teams at Oregon and Arizona have taken quite a big step up. Washington has a bunch of really good young guys, and there's a lot of top 100, top 70 teams where it's more getting back to the conference it should be, so that may make it harder to get wins in conference play. Just the fact that the teams are better.
Yeah.
So I don't want people to freak out because this team is loads better than it was last year.
Yep.
Last year they finished 215, 207.
207.
And they're at 145 right now. Last year they finished 284th in defense efficiency adjusted. They're 125 right now. So they're an above average defense. Definitely the offense is taking a little step back, but not as much as the defense has taken a step forward, which is kind of what we expected. Also, interesting thing, offense overall in NCAA is completely down, and we're still above average.
Yeah.
Like you had pointed out, like it's just a hair below 1 point per possession on average in the NCAA this year, and that is almost 5 points per 100%, or 4.5 points per 100 possessions less than last year, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about like each team scoring, on average about 3 or 4 less points a game than they did last year. And
that's attributable mostly to the 3-point line.
3-point line. I think also the 20-second clock off the offensive rebound has sped up the game, but made it harder for teams to score off offensive rebounds as well. Because they can't pull it out, set up their offense. They kind of, I think, and what you have said and what analysts like Ken Palm have said, they've moved the line back before, and the players eventually adjust. So maybe a guy like Bonton and a guy like Ellaby will start hitting eventually once they adjust to the line.
Yeah, I think it's pretty inevitable. I don't think it's going to be. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be a thing for very long. I think it'll pop. It's already popping back up. At one point, the average efficiency was down around like 97 points per 100 possessions, something like that. It was really low.
That's some like 2002 NBA.
Yeah,
stuff right
like
there.
really, really low. It's already creeping up. So I think teams are adjusting. I think
and referees adjust.
Referees
usually,
are probably
call
adjusting
less
to some
foul,
degree.
kind of let the game go. People are more. It's typically deep. Like shooters are better in the middle of the season. It's like hitters in baseball and shooters in basketball. They're better in the middle of the season than they are at the start of the season.
Yep. Yeah. It's let's see. Sorry, I was looking at something here trying to see. Yeah, so 3-point percentage is down from 34.5% across all of Division I down to 33%. 2-point percent is actually down a little bit too. And then free throw rate is down. So, I don't know, maybe this year we're lacking, and turnovers are up. So maybe, this year we're lacking some kind of referee point of emphasis that results in more fouls,
which there always
seems
seems
like
to
we
be.
usually have that, but this year I don't think there is anything like that. So.
Yeah, you remember the what was it, like about 5 years ago when they would call like it was always a blocking foul if the player had like even started to pick up the ball. They said that was like a movement towards the basket. Right. And so we had like a wild like start to the season there where the free throw rates are super high, and then the referees adjusted as they always do and stopped calling it, and then you saw the free throw rate go down. But yeah, there's nothing weird. They probably thought it was weird enough to move the free throw line back and do the 20-second shot clock off of offensive rebounds and kickballs and stuff. So they probably thought that was weird enough, and they shouldn't screw with it anymore this year.
Yep. By the way, the last time that efficiency was this low was 2003.
Wow.
98.8, so 0.988 points per possession. Back in 2003. That was the last time it was under 1.0.
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at the Ken Palm Division I statistical trends page.
Oh, yeah, because when I click on WSU 2003, the D1 average says 102.1. So I don't know.
I don't know. Well, this is what it says on the statistical trends page.
Maybe yours is looking at the raw numbers, and this
maybe,
is looking at
maybe the other one's adjusted.
Well, I wouldn't adjust. I don't know. Wouldn't the adjusted equal the raw if you took it on average everywhere? But I don't know. I don't know. Ken knows more about numbers than I do. So
yes, that is true.
Yeah.
All right,
man. Yeah, pretty good. Subscribe, rate us 5 stars. Tell a friend about us. If you're listening this long and you want free tickets to any of these break basketball games, let me know. I can hook you up with free tickets to the basketball games, and
no purchase necessary.
No purchase necessary.
Void where prohibited.
Send me drop me a line on my Twitter at the Craig Powers or at Pod versus Everyone, or send us an email at podcastversuseveryone@gmail.com, which you can do to send us questions, comments, whatever you want. Or if you want free basketball tickets, send me. If you happen to live near Pullman and you want to go in the winter to a basketball game, I will hook you up.
Did you mention there were free basketball tickets?
Yeah, there are free basketball
Good.
tickets.
Good.
Just for listening to this podcast. That's how popular they are.
There we go. Yeah. Anything else?
Oh, I will say, I feel really bad. I haven't looked at. I'm supposed to get notifications on the email. I'm going to send an apology. Ben Shannon, I'm sorry. Looks like maybe I just didn't see it because I was drunk. Looks like or I was driving, I think, to the game. On the day of the Oregon State game, he asked if we could send out the link for the $19 tickets. And I'm sorry, I didn't see that. So sorry, Ben. I hope you were able to find a last-minute ticket to the game anyway. And
I hope
see
so.
that awesome game. But yeah. Rate and subscribe us and all that.
Yeah.
All right.
Go Cougs, Craig.
Go Cougs.